The Allegiance Paradox. Beyond the Law. How Ethical Erosion and Policy Drift Undermine American Citizenship. Written by Sebastian Saviano. Narrated by Mark Dalton. This book was born out of discomfort. A growing sense that something fundamental about American citizenship has been quietly unraveling. Allegiance, once a sacred civic ideal, now feels fragmented, split between sacrifice and self-interest, obligation and opportunity. At one end are young Americans, often immigrants, who serve and sacrifice everything for the Republic. At the other end are those who treat citizenship as a convenience, a transaction, or a hedge against risk. Between them stand millions of dual citizens navigating divided loyalties and institutions that have blurred the line between pluralism and divided allegiance. We have built a system where some die for the Republic while others merely buy their way into it. And we have done so without real debate. This book is my attempt to confront that silence and to argue that citizenship must once again mean commitment, not convenience. The Allegiance Paradox is the first book in the Collapse of Trust series, a 4-volume exploration of how public belief in institutions unravels. From the erosion of allegiance and the rise of conspiratorial thinking, to the performance of legitimacy and the quiet replacement of human judgment by rules and code. Prelude, a paradoxical allegiance. Over 1.3 million Americans have given their lives in service to the Republic and the ideals for which it stands. Their service was never transactional. It rested on the belief that citizenship bound people together through shared obligations as well as rights. Today, the meaning of that bond is less certain. For some, citizenship functions more as a global credential than as a shared civic identity, detached from the mutual duties that once defined it. This is the Allegiance Paradox. The American system demands unity while permitting division. It relies on allegiance it no longer ensures. From its founding, the United States envisioned itself not as an ethnic nation, but a civic one, bound not by bloodlines, but by shared commitment to a constitutional republic. And for much of its history, that vision included a serious expectation that citizenship be chosen freely and that allegiance be exclusive. From the Naturalization Act of 1790 to the Expatriation Act of 1868, American law insisted that to become a citizen was to renounce former loyalties and commit wholly to the new. This vision of undivided allegiance helped forge a common identity in a pluralistic republic. But over time, that expectation eroded. And in the 21st century, it has collapsed. Dual citizenship, legal ambiguity, and commodified paths to nationality have created a system in which individuals may hold multiple allegiances without ever being asked to reconcile them. The state no longer actively safeguards the expectations of citizenship, even as it depends on loyalty, sacrifice, and participation to sustain democratic life. If the civic bond of allegiance no longer defines American citizenship, what does? This book begins with that question. It is not a call for cultural uniformity or political exclusion. It is a reckoning with the civic contradictions we have allowed to fester. It is an argument for restoring clarity, responsibility, and ethical coherence to the meaning of American citizenship. Introduction. The meaning of citizenship in crisis. Quote, "The most deadly adversaries of Republican government may naturally be expected to spring from the desire in foreign powers to gain an improper ascendant in our councils." End quote. Alexander Hamilton, Federalist Number 68, 1788. In 2025, President Trump's proposed gold card investor visa reignited a long-dormant debate. Can U.S. citizenship be bought? Almost simultaneously, the indictments of Senators Menendez and Coyer cast new light on the murky terrain of dual loyalties in public office. And halfway across the world, Estonia's e-governance model and Silicon Valley's experiments with so-called network states began to redefine what it even means to belong to a nation. American citizenship, once a sacred bond between the individual and the nation, has quietly become negotiable. Today, it is possible, common even, to hold two passports, swear allegiance to two sovereigns, vote in multiple elections, and enjoy the rights and protections of U.S. citizenship while maintaining active loyalty to another state. This is not a theoretical concern. It is the political and legal reality of our time. Yet, despite its far-reaching implications, dual citizenship in the United States has gone largely unexamined. No national commission, no sustained debate, no public reckoning. What was once an unthinkable contradiction, divided allegiance, has become a tolerated norm. This book begins with a paradox. The United States, founded on exclusive civic loyalty, now permits and often promotes divided allegiance as routine. Some see this as cosmopolitan progress, but it comes at a cost. The erosion of civic meaning, the weakening of institutional trust, and the unraveling of the democratic contract. The civic fabric unraveling. This is not merely a legal problem. It is a moral and cultural one. In a democratic republic, citizenship is not just a legal status. It is a public commitment. Allegiance is what binds a diverse population into a coherent political community. When that allegiance becomes optional, diluted, or secondary, the democratic fabric begins to fray. Can a republic function when some citizens vote in foreign elections, serve in foreign militaries, or shield themselves from American law with a second passport? Can it survive when others access its benefits without sharing in its burdens? When allegiance is severed from citizenship, democracy does not expand, it fractures. A nation that forgot to ask. Unlike many peer democracies, Germany, India, France, even Canada, the United States has no coherent dual citizenship policy. It is neither fully authorized nor fully prohibited. It exists in a gray zone, permitted by precedent, ignored by statute, left to drift by courts and bureaucracies. Congress has remained silent. That silence is not neutrality. It is abandonment. What this book argues. This book makes a simple but urgent claim. Allegiance must be reimagined not as a mere formality, but as ethical infrastructure, the framework that sustains trust, integrity, and accountability in a democracy. In an age of mobility and divided loyalties, restoring allegiance means reconstructing the very terms of belonging. Not to exclude, but to bind responsibility to status and reciprocity to rights. The allegiance paradox is not a call to wall off America. It is a call to rebuild its civic foundation through reforms to naturalization, democratic law, dual allegiance and high trust roles, and constitutional clarity. At its core lies one idea. Citizenship without allegiance is not inclusion. It is disillusion. How this book is structured. The chapters that follow build this case step by step. We begin with the historical foundations of allegiance in American law and political culture. From there, we trace how bureaucratic drift and judicial ambiguity allowed dual citizenship to expand. We compare America's approach to that of other nations. We explore the ethical foundations of allegiance and the institutional damage caused by its erosion through voting, military service, taxation, and public trust. We examine birth tourism, investor visas, and the commodification of citizenship. We then lay out a civic renewal framework, including reforms in law and education, before turning to the digital transformation of citizenship and the rise of network-based identities. The book concludes with a blueprint for restoring coherence to American citizenship through institutional, constitutional, and cultural renewal. A time for civic reckoning. In a fragmented world, it is tempting to treat allegiance as outdated, an obstacle to global citizenship. This book contends the opposite. Allegiance is the ethical architecture of democracy. It turns paper rights into living obligations. It transforms a nation of strangers into a republic of shared fate. We cannot legislate allegiance, but we can restore its place in law, in education, and in civic expectation. The future of American citizenship depends on whether we choose to do so.